Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on a calculator to support Kilt makers, and lately we've been working on validation. We have an approach that makes more of a validation component. We're trying to substitute that in, and I think we're finding out some rough spots for it, so we'll see what we got to do there. Okay, I just ran tests a few minutes ago, so that should be fine. Let's see, I think we're running pretty well. Let me see if we can, I guess we keep everything there. Okay, let's just clear these out for now. That's what it looks like when you start. And you can add these things. If you put something bad in, it complains too many dots, slash needs a denominator, and so on. Okay. One thing that's missing is if you hit tab or click out of here, it should turn this into a good looking fraction, which means we move the decimal point up a little bit so it's more of like a bullet point and separates the fraction from the whole number. Another problem is this sets per pleat should really be initialized to 1, and we initialize the value, but it's not there. All right, but now I had thought this would complain, so I guess this complains now if you don't do anything. Let's see. No. Okay, I thought we had pleats complaining, but at any rate, let's get that initial value. I think that should be easy enough. Replace existing fields. This should have initial value. Let's start with that. Oh, and sorry, there's another place that's funny and wrong. One set, let's make the set 6 because that gives us 2-inch pleats. Okay, this looks fine, but if I change this to 11 pleats, it should bump up. Well, it should either decrease pleat width or bump up the hip width, but it's not going to. 11. Notice it's not changing anything at all, which, well, it changes this. That's good, but that's not what we need. I think what's happening is our editing component doesn't really know that it should change when it should change. So I don't know. We'll have to see what comes out of that, I guess. So that I'm worried about that. So let's see. Another thing is, so fields don't adjust when the bound value changes. Okay, and that'll be a challenge because if you're editing the bound value, then it's kind of tricky. Okay, but sets per pleat should have initial value. Let's go to our validating text field. And I think basically what we see is there's nothing that sets the initial value to anything other than the input. And yet we have a value coming in, and we can set it according to that. Now it's allowed to be empty, so we have to be slightly careful, but let's take that in. And we're not attempting UI tests, so I'm doing this kind of off the top here. But if it's nil, then that's fine. But if it's if bound is not nil, we want to put the value in input, and we'll take bound dot formatted. Wrapped value. Okay, we're getting out of the binding. Comparing non-optional value. I guess this is wrapped as well. Okay. And optional type value must be unwrapped. I guess we know, we just checked that it was nil, so it's okay to do that. Let's put dot inches in. It's unfortunate we're coupling, and I may want to pass this formatter in at some point, but I think it's more helpful to get something moving here. We've been on this. This is, I think, our third day on this, right? So it's, I won't say it's taking over, but it's taking longer than I want. Got other things I wanted to be doing here. One is I'd like to get some graphical. I'd like to switch this to more of a graphical format once we have it quite right. But I feel like it's still not quite right on the way it works. Okay, so we're hoping one is in there. Oh, and it defaults to label is missing. Ah, okay. Let's see. So that's going to have to change too. Where's our knit? Yeah. Okay. Well, we can do that more easily then. If bound.wrapped value is nil, then we want this. Otherwise, we want empty. And then this can just become the else case. And this goes away. Okay. All right, so input starts empty. If it's not, maybe I could just be explicit there. That's the reason we have this, I guess. Okay. So one way or the other, it gets filled in. So this way, you read both cases, you know input is filled in, error message is filled in. Okay, and I'll put a little spacing in here just to let's move this one up. Okay. Try again. That's more like it. Okay. So we've make a text field show its default value in text field validator. Validating text field. Okay. I was going to say wrapping up validation, but I kind of have this uneasy feeling we're not. Okay. Handle existing fields. Handle switch and focus. Should pleats and pleat width have warnings before they're active? Well, they don't now. I think that's actually okay. If I take it out, then I kind of want a warning. We'll see. I guess I can live with a warning. Let's do the replace existing. So let's move on to pleats. So in our pleat view, well, there's number of pleats. We took care of that. Okay, so we'll just borrow this. Now each one is unique. The constraints are different for each, but so far they've just been positive. I think this one may, let's see who uses that. Pleat with error. Oh, okay. Where's pleat count? Pleat count needs pleat count error is positive. Okay, that one's the same again. All right. Pleat view. So number of pleats. This is designer.pleat count. And then we're going to keep this foreground color stuff. Okay, that's what makes it gray out when these values aren't yet defined. Okay, and well, let's go ahead and, well, let's try this one first. Yeah, I think hide the error if the field is disabled would be good. Right. Well, I don't know if it does. How does that know? I mean, with SwiftUI, right, these are wrapped. So this is the inner view, and then this view, and then this view. But clearly it's updating the colors. This is a light gray text, so it must be setting a, well, that's coming from there. I guess disable just turns it on and off, huh? Yeah, I think you're right. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna make this optional. Okay, well, certainly that should pass tests, but we want to pass in a different value. Okay. And then we theoretically shouldn't need it here. Well, that's doable in there too, isn't it? Let's push this whole stuff in there, I guess. So let me just grab it. Pleat validator. Validating text field. Okay, so in our text field, foreground color. This goes based on disabled. I guess this can go on the whole stack. Foreground color changes, color's gray. Okay, if error message is not empty, I guess this is not disabled and error message empty. Okay. Test shouldn't matter. Okay, so if we've done this properly, where's that border? Well, this is really disabled or error message is empty. Oops. Let's try this one. Okay, that's looking better. 20. That number of pleats is indented for... Something's wrong. When we fill that in, it should get the number of pleats. So why is that disabled thing coming into effect? Oh, that's the same problem we had. It's the update problem. So if I put in 11, it should update, but it's not updating afterwards. So I think we've done this correctly. If I delete this, I get the warning. If I delete this, I don't. Okay. Add disabled field, turning off view when disabled. Well, no. Controlled by flag, I guess. Maybe this flag needs to be a bound value. Oh, it's kind of a computed value, though. I don't know. We'll come back. Do you think it is the border? I mean, before the border... Oh, the border was on the whole thing before, yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, it's this. Yeah. Where does error message change? Update bound. Where is this called? Only in tests. No, it's called right there. Where's this one called? On change. Okay, I think that should do it, but we can see about when that should change. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we've done pleats. We made validating text field. Know whether it's disabled. And we answered this question. Okay. All right. I gotta take a quick break here. Sorry, excuse me. About 3 minutes. Okay, welcome back. All right. Let's go on to the next one, pleat width. Oh, actually, there's more we can do here. Pleat designer. So pleat count error. Don't think anybody's using this. Tests. No, that's not right. Okay, so pleat count error. We'll get rid of these. Pleat count nil. Okay. Okay, now the worst one. All right, so this, oh no, not gap, pleat width. Positive smaller, pleat fabric. Huh. That's, we're going to have to play with this a little. All right, so positive smaller takes a value, a name, and a string. Okay, and the name, what happens with that? Name too large. It's really name one, I guess. Okay. Well, so the deal is our validator is on pleat validating text field, right? We pass the validator into this. So when it when a change is made, it computes the value. If based on the input string, if that is valid, then it gets a value back. It runs the validator over that value and gets an error message potentially. But notice this is a function of a value to a string, but the function we were just looking at required smaller, positive smaller, gets value, name, and value. So something's going to have to give. Okay, first thing is I don't think I want to mess with the name on this. Let's just make this message be generic and just be, say, value too large. Okay, so we're kind of going backwards, and we're going to break some tests as well, but I just ran it, so we'll see it running in a moment. Okay, so let's take our traditional measure 20 and 6. Now your default pleat is 1/3 of your set, so it's 2 inches, which that gets calculated. And the number of pleats, it's actually calculated to be 10. 10 times 2 inches is 20 inches. So, all right. But we can change the pleat width, and, you could make it 4, and then you get a pleat with a too large gap. Okay, we don't really show the relative values, but above a certain point. So if this is 4 inches, then that's a 1/2 inch, that's a 1/2 inch, that's a 1/2 inch, that's a 1/2 inch. There's 3 inches where there's no overlap at all. So it's a very, very shallow box pleat. That's bad. Okay, but what if I did 6? 6 a pleat width. All right. Well, that's the same as my set. It's no pleat at all. It's taking up all the material is going into the quote pleat, and no material left over to make the pleat, so it's not legit. All right, we used to say pleat width too large, but I'm just saying value too large. Now there are a bunch of tests for this, or at least 1 or 2, and we'll have to update them to this new text, and then we can not pass in the name, and then we can not pass in the second value, which is trickier. Okay, hopefully this is, yeah, there you go. It's exactly the same, and it comes back value too large, right? Yeah. Okay. Now we may not even keep this test in the long run, but that's okay. All right. Now this should pass. Okay, so let's say the too large message no longer includes the field name. All right, since there's a big box around it and it's right there in the box, I don't think you're missing much. Okay, so pleat validator then does not need this argument. All right, now I don't have a change function method here, but if I do this, the compiler will complain because it's typed strongly. Okay, and it says I don't accept name. Okay, that should build. But now we're passing in a name to smaller, positive smaller that we don't need. Okay, and we're going to break a few things with that. Okay. Positive smaller. Okay, so pleat width comes out. And then there was another error. No, does that take care of it? Okay. Let's run tests. Okay, so remove field name from calling methods. Now, I think the same thing is true here, right? Who's calling this? I don't think anybody is at this point. Right, nobody is. Okay. We handle required differently. Actually, there's probably nobody calling this one either. Oh. No. Okay, so what's going on is this code is more or less in our pleat validating text field now. So if the value is nil, we just print name is required. Let's see, I think we have the equivalent somewhere. Label is missing. Excuse me, I don't know, that language. I maybe required is better language. Okay, but at any rate, this required value name, oh, where's that? That's not there anymore. Okay, so I believe this function can go away as well. Let's run. Okay, so our required field test is still working, except for one thing. Hip to hip is missing. Thought I changed that text a moment ago. Label. Oh, I only did it in one place. Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of like we had before, but we're going to say required. And actually, I'd kind of be okay with just value is required. Let's do that. Again, trying to be a little more consistent. Okay. Value is required. Cool. 26. Now value should have been calculated here, but I think what's happening is it gets activated because these values are all present now, and so it triggers the error message, but the value then gets updated in which the message does not. So I believe it's that other problem. All right, but at any rate, if we got our message, we want to make sure it also comes if you delete, and it's fine. All right, and tests. Yeah. Oops. Well, this is good, but it's no longer needed. Value is missing. Value is required. Is that what we got? Value is required, yes. Okay, I think we just did dead code, right? And change the message. Okay. Dead code in PleatDesigner. Change message for missing value. All right. Okay, I think we were about to change pleat width. Okay. Pleat width. So pleat view. That's number of pleats. Now, this one's going to be a problem. Okay. Designer needs required values. Yes. Okay. And it's pleat width. Designer.pleat width. Validator is different. Okay. So we'll have to go to this pleat width error. Can I get there? PleatDesigner, pleat width error. Okay, this is the positive smaller one. Now this one takes 2 arguments, and I don't know. It's got a I'm not as sure on this. Okay, so we got the value stuff, the is errors, S double. This is the one that really counts. Yeah. So, well, what we need is a function like this. So let's get ourselves this function smaller. Well, what I think is going to happen, let me make a smaller 2. All right. And we'll give it these values. This is one of these, I guess, is this currying kind of move? We're going to change this into something that produces a function that goes from value to string. Okay. Now, so I guess I'm just worried that like, how will these values get updated? Will they come through? Okay, so what I want to produce is I basically want to give this back. All right, so I'm going to have to return a closure, and the closure takes value 1 of value. Well, value 1 is a value, optional value in, and then it's going to return something. Well, it's going to return if value 1 is nil, value 2 is nil. But notice here, value 2 is not coming as an argument to this function. It's coming as an argument to this one. So in effect, we're hard coding value 2 for the scope of this function. It's a weird move. I mean, yeah, maybe the make a smaller than fabric function. Yeah, that's I'm kind of avoiding it. Is that a good thing? Well, I would like to avoid it if I can, I guess. Although this is a little deeper in the bag of tricks here. But the reason is there are other constraints you might put on. So it might also be reasonable to constrain pleat width. I don't think they would sew them less. Well, I know they won't sew them less than ½ an inch, and I think it's actually an inch. So it would be reasonable to have another constraint that says pleat width is or 1 inch is smaller than pleat width, or one half inch or something. So I don't know. We'll see. But I do run this risk that value is only computed when I call smaller 2. All right, so I'm going to switch the caller to smaller 2 and see what happens. Okay, so positive and smaller. Okay, that positive smaller. Who's calling that? Is the designer. Okay, so I would like this to be, well, I would like this. On my pleat view. I would like this validator to be well, positive smaller. This and is... Oh, it's a question of when do you evaluate? This just evaluates the final strings. Positive value. Well, let me make another function here. Positive smaller 2, value 1 of value, and value 2 of value returns. Now this is going to return value goes to string, and this is what I should be doing. Okay, so this yeah, it's more of a functional solution. I don't know if, boy, maybe smaller than pleat is easier to do. Although it's good for my brain to try and work this out, so indulge me in that, I guess, a little bit. Okay, so I need a function. I need to produce a function that does this. So I want to say he's, let's see, smaller 2 of that. Okay, we're going to return value in something, which should look kind of like this. And I want to call smaller 2 of value gives me a function. No. Yeah, smaller 2 gives me a function. So somewhere I should call smaller 2. let's I'm just kind of poking around for a minute here. Smaller 2, value 1, value 2. This is smaller function. Okay, so that gives me a function, positive value 1 and smaller function value 1. Okay, so you get back, that gives us a string. Okay, it takes a value, it computes the smaller function with value 2 coming in from the outside. So this is the closure doing its job. It can have access to this value even after it returns it and calls it much later in the life of the program. The compiler makes sure value 2 is still hanging out. All right, so I think that's legit. All right, so now we have to call this, because we're going to pass a function in. We're going to call this to get that function, and this is computing a function, I hope. All right, so now positive smaller 2. of, this is where it's funny. I think I should only pass in value, maybe. Value 2. Okay, so if I did that, this, right, because this value 1 never gets mentioned. Okay. And this is does, but it shouldn't be. This is value. Okay. And this is smaller than. Is than a valid word? Let's make this bigger. And this, I don't want to reuse smaller too much, but okay, value less than bigger. Okay, so we'll create smaller 2 is a function. Okay, let's see. Yeah, value comes in later. It's called by whoever gives this, and they will pass in pleat width for this, and then hopefully this has already been tied up into pleat fabric width or whatever it was. Okay, and value 2, well, I guess that's where this comes in. I think it's pleat fabric, right? Yeah. Okay. It's a lot of mechanism. I don't know. And like I said, I'm still worried it's not going to update properly because, yeah, I think that message is wrong too. Okay, so let's make this 20 and 6. Okay, and again, I think it's because it updates improperly. All right, so 20 and 2 is perfectly fine. 20 and 5.5 is too large of a gap. But 6, value too large. Okay, that seems to be updating. Let's change this to 9. Yeah, so I think we have an update problem. I'm not sure if it's a different update problem or not, so we're going to defer it. But this changing this to 9, the pleat width is now 6 inches, should be okay. It'd be too large of a gap, but it's certainly a legit value. So, and actually this, when we put the 9 in, it changed it to 3, and then we would, if we changed it back to 6, it's too large gap. So there was definitely something funny going on because changing the set is supposed to set the number of pleats and the pleat width to be the desired values, and does not at this point. Okay, so I think, well, we've put the field in. I'm okay there. We know it can give us the warning. The question is, does it do it consistently with what's going on? And then how does it invalidate? Okay, so this is kind of what I'm after. Fields don't adjust when bounds values change, but first we're doing this. Okay, so I would say PleatDesigner has it covered. Pleat with error is no longer used in general. Maybe some tests. Okay. So let's take these out. And PleatDesigner does not need this. Okay, I still have those two sets of functions. I'm going to leave that duplication for now. I don't know, this return like that, it's a little weird to me. Normally I like the warning, but gosh, when you're returning a function and it's just this thing in brackets, it sure looks weird. Maybe I should just, yeah, I don't know. We'll let that sit. So I'm going to leave this duplication. Nobody theoretically is calling this anymore. Maybe a test. Well, no one. The only place calling it is this, which is also theoretically not being called anymore. Smaller, not smaller too. Smaller too is calling smaller. No. Okay. Yeah. So we do have some duplication. I guess I'll leave a message about that. Duplication in required smaller. Pleat validator.required smaller. Okay, but we've replaced pleat with. I'm not quite sure we have everything we need from it, but that's fine. Okay, and then fields don't adjust. I think this deletion, I think we can find that dead code and take care of that. PleatDesigner.hipString. All right, who's using this? Only itself, right? Yeah. Oops. Hit validation error. I don't think we use that. Let me just comment that one. There is a way to disable it. I mean, the real way is to just accept it. I mean, maybe it's not bad. You've got it in the signature, like we're returning a function here, you know, and the fact that this looks a little weird is just because we're, you know, most of us aren't all that used to the functional programming side yet. And in a lot of languages, right, extra nested braces don't mean anything in Java, say, or C. But they do here because we've got this value in. But even so, the first line has value in, which says, hey, this is a function. This declaration says it's a function. So maybe it's believable that it's a function. Our eyes will just get used to learning to look for that. I can certainly see saying, wait, what? You know, first time you look at it. All right, let's check tests. No member pleat with error. Who are you? Okay, yeah, test for that. Yeah, like we said, this probably was going away, and here it goes. Okay. This message, I think this name is not ideal since we're updating. I think this is really the pleat type. Okay. Oh, really? I mean, they have a thing where you can say ignore the error in the previous line or ignore the error in this line. So I don't know, that is a doable thing, but I'll try and modernize my attention focus so I'm used to looking for functions as well as code blocks, I guess. Okay, so we had a few things in here. All right, we renamed message to pleat type. And I guess we introduced positive smaller too. Okay. Introduce pleat validator dot positive smaller to handle pleat with validation. Good. All right. And there. Oh, we deleted hip design. Oh well. All right. Fields don't adjust when the bound value changes. Switch in focus to display final value. This is kind of the same problem. All right. So what I think is going on. All right. So when 20 changes, nothing's really affected. When this changes, it should set the pleat width to 2 and the number of pleats to 10. All right. It used to do that, but I think what's happening now is I think that value really is there. I don't know if I tab. Maybe not. But what happens is this changes it. I mean, it certainly changed the status that now its prerequisites are defined, so value is required is true. But the act of changing this should have updated that. Now, maybe we've not, maybe we bumped something out that took care of that, but that's a PleatDesigner function. So when, let's see, where's hip to hip? Okay, so hip to hip says, if you change me, then you should go establish the non-required variables. And that is here. Okay, so if it still needs required values, like set or something is still missing, then just set them both to nil, and that's fine. But otherwise, we're going to say, okay, we're updating. We'll figure out the pleat width. This is really tentative pleat width. Is pleat fabric divided by 3, and then we compute the count and round it. And then we recompute the pleat width. Okay, so in this case, 20 and 6, it takes, the fabric is 6, 6 times 1 is 6, divided by 3 is 2-inch pleat. Okay, so that's the tentative pleat width is 2. And if the pleat width is 2, you need 10 pleats to get 20 inches across. All right, so count as value is 20 divided by 2 is 10, rounded is still 10, and then you compute the true pleat width is hip measure divided by pleat count, so 20 divided by 10. All right, a little roundabout, but let's say we had, let's see, if we had a 5-inch pleat. Okay, I don't know what 5 divided by 3 is, but it's not an even number. And if you divide 20 by that not even number, you get another not even number. And so pleats comes out and we have to round it up or down. And then that's going to change the pleat width. Okay. I think this is right. Okay. Except I think what happens is the only time we set that initial value, so the only time we even look at our bound value, let's go into the pleat validating text field. Okay, so the way we're set now, when you come in, we assign your value. So when you first start editing, we call this a init, and we assigned your value based on the variable, the bound variable. Okay, so if we're looking at hip to hip, when we come in, let's take that one. Hip to hip, you set let's do sets per pleat, because we do set an initial value of 1. So when you come in the first time, it looks for an initial value. If it's got 1, it formats it and puts it in, and everything's good. Okay. Now, the case we have, the only value that ever gets updated is bound value. We call update bound value. Let's see here. So if the input changes, meaning they've edited, we're going to update the bound value. And basically we're going to run the validator and all that stuff we do. This stuff. Okay. Parse the thing, run the validator, and that's what we'll pass back as an error message. Okay. So the 2 times that value can change is on initial set or if you edit it. But if somebody else changes you, you don't know. Is it because I copy the value to input? Well, sort of in the sense that I copy it in, but when else do I change input? See, the text field is the string value of it. Okay, so getting it into input means we can edit it, which is good. But if number of pleats and pleat width conspire to change hip to hip, nobody's ever focusing here, so this thing never does it. Can you add on change for the bound? I think that's what we have to do, but I think it's going to be a little complicated. Okay, so maybe it's on the whole thing. I don't think it matters, but if the bound value changes, again, it's like one of these self-updating things, right? If the value changes, like I don't want to do it while I'm in the middle of doing this, right? So we might have to put a little guard in, just like we did for our updates in PleatDesigner. This update in progress thing. I mean, if you're changing it because the input changed, and then the input's going to change it, and then you're going to come through and say, "Oh, I see you changed it. I should write it." Well, we kind of went down that path once, right? And it made it, it's like if you did 5 dot, it would say, "Oh, I see you're a 5 dot. Let's interpret you as 5, and we see you changed. We'll display you. Now you show 5, and the decimal point's gone, and you can't type another digit." Okay, so we got this loop coming in again, and they're very confusing, which makes me pause and question whether we're on a bad track here. Okay, but adding on change for the bound seems okay. I mean, it seems like the way to go. If the boundary changes, if the bound value changes, we should kind of do this, right? We should reinitialize it. And I don't know. All right. So, all right, let's first demonstrate that that theory is tricky. Okay, so if you change of our bound value, we're going to perform update bound. Update, how about update for external change? Okay, and that's going to be a function up here. And what's it got to do? Well, it's calling a void function. Ooh. Type nothing. Instance of type validating text field. I don't see why. Oh, wait. Update bound error. Oh, it needs more arguments. Update bound value. Label input of validator. Is that? Is that normal for unchanged? Yes. Value action. Action is new value goes to void, goes to some view. Okay. Well, unchanged goes to some view, lets us plug it in. So that part's okay. So we need a value to void method to pass in to perform. I don't know. It didn't look like that's what that was. Whoops. Pleat view. No, validating text field. I'll put this over here. Take this out. Okay, on change of input, perform update bound and error. Oh, input of string. Okay. Right. So update bound and error, update for external change needs our input of value. Value question mark. And it's void. Okay. I think that should take care of that. All right. So update bound and error. No. Still not there. Static update member, update for external change. Cannot be used on an instance of validating text field. Did I not put this on the same? Oh. Okay. Well, I think this is kind of the logic we want. Well, okay, let's do this. If value is nil, we're going to set input to nothing and error message to that. So I'm not going to worry about the duplication just yet. Unchanged check input when in focus. That could be. That's good idea. All right, and then else. Equals value. Oops. Formatted inches. Okay. Yeah, and I actually dug out that focus code. We may need to know our focused field. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I think we can demonstrate the problem I was talking about, and then we'll fix it with that is focused. Some version of is focused. Okay. Yeah, we'll need a state for focused, and we had that before, and I deleted it. Maybe foolishly, but I did save it in the to-do. Okay. We had an enum and all that stuff. I don't remember where that was. Let's find .hip2. No references. Hip2. There it is. Pleat view. Okay. Yeah, we still have the field in the focus state. So before we had to pass in the focus somewhere. Where did it get it? Focus is pleat field. I'm a little confused, but okay. So I think we will see some confusion because of that. Let's demonstrate it. I guess the confusion is already here for me. Okay, so what's gonna make it funny? All right, let's do this. 26. That's better. All right, let's change this. 2.5. Oh, maybe we're okay. That seems consistent. No, wait a minute. Something's funny there. Oh, this is insidious. Okay, 20 with 10, 6. Okay, if I make this 2.5, what should happen is, since 2.5 is less than 6, it should, well, let's make it 3. Okay, if I make it 3, then that's half a 6, and so the other half, everybody's got 3/4 of an inch in, 3/4 of an inch out, and that leaves, I don't know, an inch and a half gap, which is too big. All right, but if I change this to 3, 10 pleats of 3 is 30. So I think it should be updating hip to hip to 30, because 10 pleats times 3 is 30. But I think what it does is it updates to 30, and then it says, oh, I just updated hip to hip. I should make your pleat width be 1/3 of, I think, well, what should I do? I should make your pleat width be your set divided by 3 is 2, and round up the pleats. I don't know. It's something's weird going on. Okay, so 3, whoops, 2 is fine. Well, no. So see, something weird went on just there. Okay, 20. That first time it sets is fine. Updating this to 3 should not change the hip to hip. Oh no, it should. Yeah, it updated pleat count. That was unexpected to me. So now maybe that's okay. I mean, it makes it consistent. This is one of these error or value, what do you call it, data flow kind of situations. And, we're kind of, are we converging is the question. All right, so if pleat width is 2, then that would give you, oh wait, okay, I'm trying to change pleat width to 3. It changes it back to 2. I mean, it leaves hip to hip even bigger. Okay, yeah, this is something's falling apart. Okay, if I change pleat count to 10, maybe now is already passed for you, but 10, okay, boom, yeah. Because I think we kind of make the assumption that it's there by the time you get here. So which one was nil? Well, let's look at pleat count we just set. So I'd be very surprised if that is. Gee, thank you. He's telling me everything but what I want to know. Current value. Thank you. 1. That sounds unlikely, but okay. And then pleat width. Do I have a dot value or something? As double. Nil. Okay. So, yeah. So need requires values. Oh, well, maybe we've messed something up here. Maybe this is... If pleat count is nil, or pleat count is error, but if pleat width is nil, that's also an error. I mean, a time not to set it. Yeah, I think maybe we've... Oh, here we check pleat width and pleat count, but here we have not. Okay, so let me rerun. Make sure we can trigger this error again, or I think I can see how to trigger it more quickly. Okay, so we'll put in 20 and 6 again, our usual easy numbers. Whoops, there's 5, whatever. All right, I think if I delete this, I believe pleat count is going to blow up. No. All right. No, it doesn't. Okay, 3. 35, 3. There we go. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm afraid of. Funny it took so long to get there. And it looks like it's a stable loop, but it's a loop. Edit pleat count when there's no pleat width. Okay. 3. There you go. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's find our test for PleatDesigner. And I think partly this, well, we changed the relationships a bit. Originally, we made it so like the hip width was a fixed thing, and the pleat and pleat width kind of between them multiplied out to be that value. Now we'd like the pleat to be more a driver, and I tried my domain expert that I'm married to. I tried talking this through with her to understand, like, how do they know when they're updating the hip and when they're not and all that. And it's not clear to me, like, it's not framed that way in their head to say, oh, this means this and this means that, but for us, unfortunately, we have to do that. All right, but Pleat Designer tests, oops. Okay, so pleat width to nil, okay. Here's pleat count, okay. Test set pleat count when well, I almost want to make this the other way around. I don't know. Sometimes these names, when pleat width is empty, set pleat count. I don't know what it does. Does something. Okay, let's see if we can get the test to blow up, and then we'll know. All right, so we'll take all this. Okay, hip tip 20. Let's take this 6. All right, and the set defaults to 1. So pleat count is 10. Let's make this 12. Okay, and pleat width is nil. Let's set that first. Okay, so setting, well, this value, then setting this value should set pleat width to 2, a number to 10, and we're gonna force pleat width to nil and then set it. And what can we set it to? I guess if we set it to well, if I set it to 20, right, then I'm going to get some sort of military box pleat or something. Okay, I think this, we got to decide what should happen. Okay. And I'm not sure. Okay, well, the number should be 20 because we just set it. It's legitimate because it should be a 1-inch pleat. I kind of think it should be a 1-inch pleat, but let's see. Whoops, Pleat Designer. This is tricky. Okay, if you've set, all right, let's set it. No, I'm not running. Okay, we set this, that all seems good. If I change this to 20, I would like pleat width to be 1 because it fits. I mean, 1 is less than 6 inches, and that should be fine. Okay, so if I change that to 20, what happens? I think the way we are now, the hip will change. Okay, but our test we set up is this. That's that. Now we're going to change this. Can anybody edit text on this? All right. If I change this, I think this blows up. Good. Okay. Now, what should it do? Okay. If the pleat width is already defined, I think it should adjust the hip. And if the pleat width is not defined, I think it should define it. I mean, it seems clear to me if you say you want 20 pleats and you got a 20-inch hip, you need 1-inch pleats. And your set is 6 inches, so you could make 1-inch pleats. You'd have a lot of material left over, but you could make it. Now, if the pleat width is set, maybe that's the other problem, right? If pleat width is set, okay, how am I saying this? All right, you come in here, hip to hip measure has to be set because that's a required value. And if pleat count is nil, there's nothing you can do to make everything better. All right, but I mean, they set it to nil, so you're just saying, okay, I can't calculate things. All right, but if the pleat width is not nil, okay, which is it is when we get down here, it's not nil. All right, then the two cases are the pleat width is defined or the pleat width is not defined. Okay, so if the pleat width is nil, I would say it should compute the pleat width. Okay. Let's get our test to encode these two cases. Okay, if pleat width is nil, you say I want 20 pleats. Well, this should be 1 inch. And the gap is nil. That's gap is 0. Okay. So if I say force 20 pleats and we don't have a pleat width, then we should set the pleat width to the natural number and return. Okay. And then I'm going to draw the exact opposite comparison. When pleat width is not empty, set pleat count sets hip. In this case, it sets pleat width. Okay. So if pleat width is 3, and we set pleat count to 20, then the hip, pleat count is 20, pleat width should be unchanged. I don't care about the gap, I care more about the hip. Hip to hip should be 60 inches, 20 times 3. Okay. I'm pretty sure we have a failing test here. This is our blow-up case. No, he didn't run it. A change of pleat width should calculate hip. Any other change should update pleat width. Yeah, I think mostly. There may be... I'm worried that... Okay, let's go the other way. So instead of 20 pleats, what if you just said, I want 1? Right, so 20-inch hip, I want 1 big pleat. Well, you can't get that on a 6-inch set. The most pleat you can get is 5.99, and then it's pretty ugly. So it sort of yields an impossible pleat width, and I think we'll get an impossible pleat width with an error message, which I would accept. Okay, so this test. This first test fails with an exception or crash. This test, I think this may be what we do now, or it may Well, it's not going to fail for the reason we had, because it's not nil. Okay, yeah, that's the behavior we have now. But I think maybe this is getting at what was bugging me, is I think it was too eager to change the hip width. And I think what we're going to do in this to fix this test is actually the right thing. Okay, so if pleat count is not nil, well, if it is nil, no, if it's not nil, then we're going to update hip to hip. That's the current behavior. Else, it is nil, we're going to update pleat width. Is hip to hip divided by pleat count. And pleat count is nil, we're not getting there. Hip to hip is nil, we're not getting here. So at this point we know hip is nil, is not nil, count is not nil. All right. I think this is a real change, but it's a good one. Yeah, I think it will error out. I think the test will pass. More to the immediate point? No. Boom. Pleat count. Oh, this should be pleat width. Okay, well, it crashed Xcode. I guess it didn't crash Zoom or Twitch session OBS. Where's Xcode? Well, let's try these tests again, shall we? Maybe I should do a rebuild too. I don't know. If it crashes again, I will. We probably need corresponding code over on the pleat count. Oh, sorry, pleat width side. Okay, somebody's still not happy. Yeah, we know. Gap inches 0. Minus 1.5. Oh yeah, it should not be 0 anymore. Right. Because we got 6 inches of fabric. We're only going to use 1 for the pleat. So we got 5 inches to spread across 1. So yeah, 1.5 overlap. Okay. And it's not an overlap. It's a... Oh, yeah, it's an overlap, not a gap. And the negative gaps are overlaps. Okay. All right. Think I'm there. Okay, let's run this and see it acting reasonably. So our test case should give it a military box bleed. Okay. 26. Okay, and now we're taking out pleat width. Okay, that is actually good. And we're going to change this to 20. Oh. No, something's funny. Okay, let's try again. 20. 6.1. Okay, take this out. I'm going to change this the hard way. The immediate way. Okay, so if I change this to 20, then pleat width should become 1 and then overlap. Okay, that's fine. But what's happening? Oh, all right. Yeah, I'll put it back to 10. Okay. Yeah, there's something going on there. I think this may be back to that focus update problem we were talking about. All right, so I got 10, I got 2. All right, I can change it to 20 if I'm very careful, right? If I select this character and make it a 2, it immediately changes to 20. But if instead I select the whole thing and I type 2, it's already not a value anymore. Or, it's already been assigned. And now 20, yeah, so something's going on. I think it's the update across, but the right thing is happening. Let's make a number that can, let's make a kid's kilt for a change. Okay, so a 10-inch hip, 6 set, 5 pleats. Okay, this is more direct. So if I change it to 4, the pleat width should get bigger. It did not. It changed hip. That's probably okay. Yeah, the width is set. So, I mean, this is not the problem we just addressed. It's really the other update problem. I think what we addressed that okay. It's two things fighting though, so that's nerve-wracking. Okay, so pleat count. Now pleat width always assumes it updates the hip measure, and again, that seems a bit wrong. If the pleat with, the number of pleats is not defined. Oh, what did I just do? Okay. Am I still running? Okay, if the number of pleats is not defined and I change this, let's say to 3, it should round up the pleats and then adjust me. It does not. Okay. Well, I think we've got two problems fighting each other, and so tell you what, let's take a break. We'll come back, and I think maybe we want to address that focus because we had that infinite loop thing going on. We definitely don't want to have that possibility of, in this case, it was sort of like, I don't know, bimodal or what the right word is, but it would flip from one state to the other. Maybe there was another one in between, but it was in a regular cycle. Okay, we can imagine a situation that, I better make the width a little bigger. Oh, that makes the hip a little bigger. Oh, I better make the pleat a little bigger. Oh, it makes the hip a little bigger. Something like that that just blows it up towards infinity would not seem any further away from possible. So yeah, let's take a break 3 or 4 minutes and we'll come back, try the focus thing, and then consider this, the pleat width. And I'll just leave a note in to do about pleat width. How do we update pleat count when pleat width changes? What if pleat count is nil? All right, that'll hopefully give us enough of a clue. Okay, let's see, I lost my clock in all this, but we'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. All right, welcome back. Okay, so we're going to defer this problem for a minute because I think it's actually even more complicated than the number of pleats case, although it's a real problem. Let's see. So fields don't adjust when the bound value changes. Handle switch and focus to find its display final value. So Mudshark666 pointed out in earlier, we'd need the state for focus and all that. So I think this focus says make the focused field be this. I don't know why equals is there. Just seems weird. So let's Swift UI focused. Well, let's check what they say in the documentation. Focused equals. What is the difference? Oh, should we focus? Okay. And this is modify the view by binding its focus state to the given state value. So that really is forcing us to a particular value. So to me that says when this interior thing is, when the thing you're on is focused, set the field equal to username field. Okay. I would have said 2 and not quite sure what equals tells me. Equals to me sounds more like a test, but I guess that's a personal problem. Okay, so we want to make our field, basically this is saying make it so we can tell which field we're focused on. And that tells me we're going to need that argument coming in. All right, now I don't think, okay, here's designer. We define pleat fields. Well, we don't have hip2 anymore. Okay, so hip to hip sets as per pleat number of pleats, pleat width. Okay, and focus state. All right, so what we want to do then is we're going to pass an instance of this into our validating text field. And that will give us the chance to set the focus. Now, how are we going to know focus state? Do we have to pass that too? Or can we do all that at this level? Sorry, this level. I mean, if I say focused, I mean, I'm basically doing that here on text field. Can I do it on this? So would focus field ever need to know its own state? I guess it does. Because it's going to have to, that function's going to have to check update bound in error is only valid if the focus state is itself, or vice versa. Okay. All right. So I guess we got to pass in $focus state and the value. I almost think this is a place for a pair. Let's see. I guess this is user binding validator that goes together. Okay. Let's say focus is, well, I'm going to have to pull this up. Focus is a pleat field. And, well, no, this is the, I want the state variable too. Ugh. Focused field. Okay, let's do that. Well, his type is pleat field question mark, but he's a binding. Okay, so we'll bind that one. Focus. I don't know. Focus tracker. And focus state. I'm going to name this pleat focus. Pleat view focus, maybe even. Okay, so that's there. All right. And let's, should be able to do it locally in the validating field. You're saying the focused in that, I think. I didn't quite keep up with the comments. Sorry. Okay, so callers should have to do something now. Bill should fail, yeah. Okay, so do I do field 2 down here? I don't. Does anybody call field 2 at this point? I don't think so. Okay. Unfortunately, this message leaves a lot to be desired when the problem is labeled field is missing a field. Okay, so this is focus tracker is $ focus field. Is that the name? Yes. Focused field, and focus state is .hip. Oh, okay. Focus state of pleat view focus. I think that's really focus state of pleat view focus. Long line, yeah. It is getting to be a mess. Cannot convert focus state of pleat view focus dot binding to binding of that. Okay, I guess I'll just take what they say. I don't know if I can get the type of this. I'm not doing anything with it, so I don't need to pull it apart, but I don't know. Okay, don't do that anymore. Okay, this one is set. I don't know if that's really accurate. Okay. Run tests. Nobody's using it. It shouldn't matter. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the pleat, the validating text field, calling that method, it calls. I think these two methods need to know the state, the focus state, because they're going to say if the current focus equals my state, then don't do it. Okay. Tests are good. Okay, let's make something happen. Well, I guess I'll push it. All right. Add focus tracker and focus state to the validating text field. Not used yet. Okay, so we got the callers together. Okay, so we need to store things. So var focus tracker is this. Var focus state is this. Okay. And we need to assign them. Good. All right. Let's do a build. All right, build succeeded. Okay, so now I just don't think I can set up focus state and all that without a view, so I'm gonna not try. All right, so I think update for external change. This is really update for internal change. All right. And I think that helps. If the input changes, then we do internal change. If not, we do update external change. All right. And then if the focus is not here, update mount value. I think we need the focus. Well, I think we can do it here. Yeah. I hope I can say this equals focus state. Actually, it's not equal. If the focus tracker is not, so in other words, if the focus is not on the current thing, this cannot be an internal state. Dot wrapped. What's projected? Oh, binding. Okay. Dot wrapped. Okay. If the focus tracker is currently not looking at focus state, then it's not. Focus state is our state. So if it's not looking at us, this is not an internal change. I don't think this one has to worry so much. Because the only time input changes, it is an internal change, really. Okay. And then update for external change, we kind of want the same thing, only reversed. And focus tracker equals focus state. So in other words, if you're in the middle of updating this state and you're told your value changed, you don't want to do anything because that was somebody else's doing. Sorry. If you're in the state and you're changing it by like the input changing, we don't want to try and update the values, the input values. We just want to say, okay, skip out because this is an internal change. You are dealt with on this, but not that. Okay. I'm going to move this up, just trying to make it a little more top-down reading, although that argues for a lot of this stuff moving, but get those together. Okay, and then, okay, otherwise that. Now that feels like this, where value is the bound wrapped value. Let's make this work first. All right, run tests. Yeah, I think between pleat view and validating text field, those are the only two that care about the focus. And maybe this one doesn't care, but it's the one that owns all the fields. So I'm going to say it has to know, it has to be the plate. We can't put it on an individual field, the focus tracker. So it's going to have to be on this. It's got to be somewhere. All right. So I think if we track focus, and I don't know if we muck with it ever besides this. We did at one point, but I think we don't now. Okay. Tests all passed. That's good. Okay, and let's run it. But I think we'll eliminate something here. Okay, 26. Oh no, it's not updating. Am I backwards? I don't think so. Can I put one of these? I just want to show the state here. I don't want to. I don't think this one is really necessary because input only changes if we're in our state. So I don't think this is the problem, but I want to get that out of the way. All right. Now the problem we have is this should change pleats and plate width. Good. Okay, so that was interfering with that. That's interesting. All right, now we're getting into these. If I change this, it doesn't change. It blocks it. Oh dear. 4. 4. Yeah, something's... Yeah. I mean, I'm not normally worried about those, but is the focus the not doing it? Oh, he crashed already. Okay. Well, it messed up something. Okay. I guess I'm going to have to break and see where it's coming. Okay. Update for internal change. Yes, because I typed a value. Update for external change. Let's nil. Oh, interesting. So right now nobody's selected. No state is selected. And let's look at focus state. Better be our field. Hip. Okay. Wow. So it's like we're not selected until we've actually done something, maybe? 2. Okay, update for internal change. That's fine. External change. Oh, no. Nil. Well, nil is legal too, isn't it? Yeah, if it's nil, then we have to update for external change. Okay. Okay, so if it's nil, that means there is no focus state selected, but still somebody's changing this value. Okay, let's run. Pleat calculates the hip measure when pleat width is set. Yeah. Okay, so 2. Let's continue. 0. Continue. 6. Continue. Okay, that seems okay. Focus. Well, no, it's not okay. Oh. Pleat width, the way it is now, updates hip measure as well. Where is it? PleatDesigner. So yeah, he updates hip to hip. But when I hit 6, it should have updated this to 10 and 2. All right, I think I'm gonna have to go back in and do that again. So hitting 6, let's break in set. Let's break here. Maybe I can turn those other ones off. Let's see. Okay, so 20. Turn this off. And this one off. Go should be okay. That's fine. Oh, whoops. Should be O. Six. All right. So he does this. Establish non-required variables. Step over. Need required variables. It doesn't. They're both set, I think. Let's print set. Okay, so he is set. So the variables are there. Update in progress is not true yet. Okay, so we're going to set the tentative pleat width. Count as value. Okay, so at this point, setting set does set pleats and pleat width. So let's but oh, update is in progress. So we don't do any of this stuff. Okay, because update in progress is true, so we're not gonna change anything based on those values. Okay, so why? So the init is not going to be called. We've got the field sitting there. Okay. And what I expect is update for external change. Let's see that. I expect that to be called on number of pleats. Okay, so let's print focus state. Pleat width. Okay. Nil. So the focus tracker says the external state is nil, which seems a little funny because you would expect it to be set still, but SETD set. And let's look at value. This should be the width too. Okay, yeah. So the set update external says I don't think I want to care about nil. It says the focus tracker doesn't have a state, which seems really odd. So it's not equal to the current state. I think I added this incorrectly. This is tedious. And these data flows, they just, they love this kind of problem. If you can make sure the flow is tree-like and it just flows down, that's all fine. Or if it all just flows up, it's all fine. But if changing this updates that, that updates this, that updates that, you got circles, you're in trouble. And we have circles. Okay. I think there are limits, but we still have a problem. All right, let's do this again. I'm going to turn this off a moment. Okay, I'm going to set this to 20. And I'm going to set this to 6. 6. 6. All right. Establish non-required variables. And we went through all this stuff. So I'm going to continue. All right, and we got a focus tracker external change. Nil. Pleat width. Okay, so pleat width gets a notice that says, hey, pleat width changed. The value is now 2. And so this field should change to 2. All right, let's step over. Value is nil, no. Okay, so the input is value.formatted. Input should be a string. 2. All right, and error message equals empty. That seems like what we kind of want. All right, now I should get another external change. No, I shouldn't. Oh, I should for pleats. We didn't see one for number of pleats. Okay. Focus tracker wrap value is nil. Focus state is number of pleats. Okay. We don't control the order of the rows. Value as double should be 10. And input is probably empty. Okay. We'll step over. Input becomes that. 10. Okay. The problem is I put that clause there because something else was failing. So let's see. Let's take out the breakpoints. Delete all. All right. Let's run this and put it through some paces. All right. 26. 2. If I make it 3, it changes it back to 2. change it back to 2. It's still there. Change this to 10. Okay. If I change this to 3, I mean, really, and one calculation each field update. Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't know. It seems like it should be a solved problem, but I don't have a pattern in my head that makes it easy. And here we are with, 5 to 7 variables, depending on how you want to look at it. And I'm already kind of flooded over as to what goes on. I think part of it is we don't yet have the right calculations in pleats and pleat width for when to update hips and when to update the other field. And I think we do need to make that happen. But this is, if I say 2 here, I would expect no problem at all. All right, that seems fine. If I say 3, I could believe you would say, oh, it should be 30, because I think that's the current behavior. But it's not. It changes that. That just seems funny to me. Like, why didn't it keep pleats 3? I mean, why didn't it keep 10 and 3? 10 times 3 is 30. Is completely fine. Oh gosh, yeah. I was just thinking when you fill out your corporate, I have an LLC, small business, and if you want to figure out how much can I donate to my retirement account, it's like you have to figure it out minus the amount you donate to your retirement account that is deductible. And so it's like your income goes here and then it goes this, but now you got to take into account that your income is lower because you deducted something. And so go back and recalculate. And, you get one of these weird little calculations. You end up with some number that tells you like just multiply by 0.8 instead of just saying like just multiply by 0.8. It's this recursive calculation. Okay. Okay. Is that our current problem on focus? I mean, we may have solved the focus problem, but still not have the constraint problem, right? I think that's what we do. Actually, I think that's the case now. Maybe we've solved one problem. And still have a problem. All right, so the claim I have is PleatDesigner updating pleat count. Sorry, updating pleat width. Updates hip to hip. No, something's still wrong. Okay, so it updates hip to hip. So I think what happens there is hip to hip gets updated to 30, and then yeah, I don't want hip to hip changes to change that, but we have our update in progress going on, so I thought hip to hip would. Oh no, it does not. Okay. Well, no, it does check if needs required values. They're all there. Okay, so it comes here, but this should kick out because it's in the middle of an update. So something's going different. Let me see if I can capture the case. So we the failing test case is hip 20 set 6. That yields 20/2. Okay. Change pleat width to 3. It changes hip to 30 and number pleats to 15. And but expected number of pleats equals 10, because 10 times 3 is 30 anyway. It changes hip to 30, number of pleats to 15, and pleat width to 2, which seems like the worst of both worlds. You had a 2 and 10 that worked fine for 20, and now you force it to 30 and then change your width. I don't know if that's the default one. It's hard to tell. All right. I guess I'm glad I did not say today was completing validation day. I hope tomorrow is. We're solving two different problems, and I'm not sure if we've solved the focus problem. My fear is the update for external change is. Well, no, that should only affect. I don't know. It could be something in this because now we're updating input. That's going to trigger internal change, I think. So it may be that triggered the loop around or something. So we haven't separated the problems yet, I guess. All right. Well, thanks for joining today. We made progress, but we're still kind of in a limbo place with regards to the stability of the calculations, which I don't know is a real problem. I think it is pushing us to figure out what we really want for how do pleats and pleat width and hip interact, because I think it was naive before. So, 2 weeks ago, hip to hip was fixed, and these two always, if you modified one, it modified the other. Now we're recognizing, no, there should be times when changing pleats changes the pleat width if it keeps it under a valid value. If it can't do it in a way that makes it change, it will change in that case. But it's going to be a little bit nuanced. Okay. So I think we will unfortunately spend some time debugging tomorrow to track the focus state as we're going through. But I do fear that our update external is also calling update internal, and that's maybe creating an issue. I don't know. Input is empty. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it should, but it does trigger more than I want. All right, so tomorrow, 2 to 4:30 Eastern Time or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Mudshark666. I feel like I'd be weeks behind without your help lately, so thanks. All right, so have a good evening, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.